Hi, welcome to Hotel Room Diaries number 2. This week I'm in Dulstrom at the Walkersons Hotel and Spa. It's an absolutely beautiful part of South Africa that I never get to see, so really happy to be here. And I'm speaking at a conference about mastering the internal game of change. And I think if you can do that, then the external game of change just becomes so much easier. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about those recurring problems that we tend to face and how to solve them. So I'm sure you've had this experience where you have some challenge in your personal or professional life that just keeps popping up. And no matter how many times you solve it, it keeps coming back. And what you actually need is a new perspective, a different way of solving that problem, because obviously the way that you are doing it just isn't working. There's a great story about a town who had a recurring problem. They had bands coming through, and these bands would put up posters all over the town, and it was quite an eyesore. Residents and store owners got very frustrated with this, so they decided that they're going to just keep taking them down. And so you would have bands putting them up, residents taking them down, and it just kept going on and on and on. And obviously, it was very time consuming also to take them down every single time. So someone had the bright idea to create a big rubber stamp that said cancelled on it. And so this time around, when the bands were putting up their posters, they would just go around and just stamp them with this stamp that said cancelled. And of course, the bands then scrambled to actually take the posters down themselves because they didn't want people to think that the events were cancelled. So it's such a great story because it has this beautiful, elegant solution, gift wrapped solution that sounds almost too good to be true. But what I do like about this story is that it reminds us that we sometimes need a new perspective on an existing problem that we have. And to be honest, it is very difficult for us to develop new perspectives just on our own. And that is because we are so caught up in our routines and our rituals and in our content ecosystems and our algorithmic driven feeds that what they are more likely to do than provide new perspective is to reinforce existing biases and existing perspectives. So, how do we then develop new perspectives? And I think that is really the game that we need to play is to develop new perspectives at a higher rate. That's if you can do that, I think then you're winning. So here are 5 ways that I think you can do that. The first is just pay for it. Is hire coaches and consultants because they have the benefit of having a bird's eye view across industries, across different people that they've worked with. And as a result, they've become good at pattern recognition. And so they've seen how other people have solved it, so they can help you tap into the collective wisdom in a kind of way. So I've always been a big proponent of this. Like just pay for someone's wisdom and experience and let them help you shortcut the process. Number 2 is something like traveling. When I've spent a lot of time at home, it almost feels to me like my thinking takes on the shape of my study. And there's been some research about this. I haven't looked into it too deeply, but I've seen research around the idea that if you want a team to brainstorm new ideas, then put them in a space where the ceilings are very high, where they have space to ideate. Whereas if you want a team to think very structurally, then put them in a space where the ceilings are quite low. I don't know how much there is to that research, but in my mind, it seems plausible. Environment shapes our thinking. So when I travel, it feels like I get distance from my challenges and from my problems, and therefore I can look at it from a different angle, from a different perspective. The third is to find communities to tap into. And again, there are paid communities like Entrepreneurs Organization, like Civitas, uh, communities that I highly recommend. But you can also create your own, and this would most likely take the form of some sort of a mastermind where you gather like minded, ambitious individuals that may or may not be in the same profession, but that all have a similar goal of helping each other to succeed. And in that way, you get to tap into their diverse perspectives as well. The fourth one is to really audit your content ecosystem. There's sort of two sub sub points here. One would be that we tend to think in glances. This is something that I've mentioned a long time ago, that we come across content that is really life changing and really good content, but we've become so trained to just move from one idea to the next in our feed that we don't give those ideas enough airtime. We don't give them enough space to breathe. And so one way of actually just using your content system better is to, when you come across an idea, spend some time with it. Really think about how that could apply to your business. For example, we've all heard about the Pareto principle, the idea that 80% of your efforts will come from 20% of your inputs. But how many have actually sat down and thought about what are the biggest levers in their business that they can pull to create that sort of disproportional output? So we come across these great ideas. They could really revolutionize our businesses, our personal lives, but we don't actually engage with the ideas enough. So just start engaging with ideas a bit more. But secondly, is also refresh your algorithm. Like, don't just get caught up in the same cycle over and over and over. At the start of the year, I actually went and very intentionally deleted all of the podcasts that I had on my podcast player and selected some new ones because I was like, yes, I like the people that I listen to. I've developed these parasocial relationships with them, but ultimately, I also want new voices and new perspectives. So I think every now and then we need to introduce a bit of variety and not just the same old that's going to keep our thinking moving in the same direction as well. Okay, and the fifth one, and this should be an obvious one, is AI. It's been incredible to use tools like Claude and ChatGPT to ask it to help me find different perspectives. And there are so many different ways that you could do this. One way would be to literally create a board of directors. So, for example, if you're dealing with a marketing challenge, you might say, you know, using Rory Sutherland and Seth Godin as examples or as instructors or as like a lens for this problem, how would they go about thinking about solving this problem? Like, what would their approach be to this? And you could list out, anyone that you want. We know that the LLMs have been trained on people's books, so it most likely has that knowledge and can take on their perspectives in some shape or form to tell you how to go about solving the issue that you might be facing. So I think just to help you generate new perspectives, AI is an incredible tool that every individual, every leader, every team should be using. So that is it from me. I hope that has helped to get you thinking about new perspectives not only on existing problems that you have, but also on the new problems that you might have. Because to be honest, there's a lot of new things happening in our world right now, and we don't always know how to go about dealing with it, how to solve it. And so we need new perspectives. And I think if you can just follow through on those five things, you'll find that your the rate at which you can access new perspectives will increase. And as a result, it'll have a very positive impact on the decisions that you make and the outputs that you get from those decisions. So, I hope that helps and see you again next time.